Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're diving into an absolutely massive shift happening right now in 2026 within cybersecurity ops. The way we defend our digital borders, it's being completely rewritten. I mean, minor tweaks to legacy systems just aren't cutting it anymore. We're seeing the entire architecture of the SOC transform into something vastly more autonomous, vastly more intelligent. And the reason why? Well, it really all comes down to one single staggering number.
And that number is 10,000. Yep, 10,000. That's the sheer volume of daily security alerts currently absolutely drowning traditional security analysts. Think about trying to find a needle in a haystack, right? Now imagine someone dumping 10,000 brand new haystacks on you every single day. That is the literal reality for today's defenders. Human capacity has been completely maxed out, and it's exactly why the old manual model of cybersecurity is just breaking down right before our eyes.
So here's our roadmap for today. We'll start by looking at the traditional SOC crisis and then enter the AI-native SOC. From there, we'll pop the hood to see how AI SOCs actually work and then look at measuring the ROI. Finally, we'll map out the 2026 vendor landscape before looking ahead to the future of cyber defense.
All right, part one, the traditional SOC crisis, drowning in data.
Okay, let's dive into this. Because of those 10,000 daily alerts we just talked about, roughly 40% go completely uninvestigated, just ignored. And that sheer volume, it's leading to an insane 71% of SOC analysts reporting severe burnout. But here is where it gets genuinely dangerous. Manual triage means analysts are spending over 15 minutes per alert, which pushes average threat dwell times up to 56 minutes. Look, in a world where a phishing attack can exfiltrate highly sensitive data in under an hour, a 56-minute delay is, well, it's a catastrophic delay. In fact, ignored alerts are linked to 60% of all organizational breaches. This manual slog isn't just exhausting, it's literally costing companies their data.
Which brings us to part two. Enter the AI-native SOC, a paradigm shift. And to be crystal clear, we are not talking about a minor software update or some fancy new dashboard layered on top of old tools. We're talking about a fundamental re-architecture of cyber defense.
Let's look at the evolution and see how this builds over the last few decades. If you look back at the 2000s, step one was the SIEM, basic log aggregation. Then by the 2010s, step two brought us EDR and XDR for endpoint visibility. But now, in 2025 and beyond, step three is the AI-powered SOC. We have officially entered the era of autonomous response. The tech isn't just flagging issues for humans to fix anymore. We're talking about intelligence embedded into every single layer to handle detection, investigation, and response completely on its own.
And the contrast here is super sharp. In a traditional SOC, you've got manual triage taking hours, sometimes even days to respond, which is exactly what drives that massive analyst burnout. But on the flip side, with an AI-native SOC, autonomous level 2 triage brings those response times down to literally seconds or minutes. Seconds. So instead of burning out, human analysts are actually upskilled. They get to focus on proactive threat hunting in the really complex cases. It completely shifts your baseline from a reactive manual slog to a proactive, highly scalable defense system.
Okay, part three, how AI SOCs work under the hood. Let's visually demystify how these platforms actually operate. If we trace the data flow in an AI-native architecture, you'll see raw telemetry from endpoints, the cloud, your network, identity systems. It all pours right into a vendor-neutral data pipeline. It gets routed, it gets enriched in that unified data lake, and then moves directly into the AI and machine learning analytics layer. But here is the actual magic. Instead of just dumping all of that onto a human's desk, it gets routed to the autonomous SOC agent team. This is not just some basic filter. It's a hyper-automated SOAR platform that orchestrates micro-responses right at the edge, using a continuous feedback loop so it actually understands exactly what it's looking at.
The absolute crucial point to grasp here is what's actually powering that SOC agent team, and that is agentic AI. We are not talking about a basic chatbot where you type a prompt and it summarizes a log for you. No way. Agentic AI refers to multi-agent systems that actually collaborate. They can autonomously handle up to 90% of Tier 1 tasks. So you might have one agent handling threat hunting, a totally different one managing vulnerabilities, and maybe a third investigating phishing, and they are all working together to perform deep, Level 2 investigations without needing a human to approve every single step.
Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Does this mean the end of the human security analyst? Well, a cybersecurity delivery leader at a top consulting firm put it really well. They noted that while AI can go to 100% automation,
They said it's just a human blockage from the leadership, which doesn't allow them to replace everything in the first go. But the real goal here isn't just mass firing your security team. It's about replacing the tedious, soul-crushing tasks. The AI handles those 10,000 repetitive alerts so that humans can be upskilled. We're moving towards this AI-human centaur model, if you will, where humans get to focus on the truly complex, edge-case attacks where human judgment and intuition are still absolutely essential.
Moving on to part 4, measuring the ROI, speed, and scale. Let's look at the actual numbers organizations are hitting after adopting this architecture.
When you look at the metrics, the math changes so drastically here. You go from having 30 to 40% of your alert volume sitting completely unreviewed in a traditional setup to 100% being triaged by machines. Nothing slips through the cracks. But honestly, the most incredible metric is the mean time to respond. It drops from hours or days down to mere minutes or even seconds. Because the AI is doing all the heavy lifting, gathering the evidence, writing up the reports, analyst productivity sees a massive 3 to 5 times increase. You are quite literally compressing the attacker's dwell time to a window so impossibly small that they just can't execute their objective.
All right, part 5. The 2026 vendor landscape. Who is actually building this?
Right now, AI SOCs are only sitting in about 1 to 5% market penetration. But make no mistake, this space is heating up fast. We can broadly map this landscape into 2 distinct approaches. On one side, you've got the platform players. These are the big incumbents adding AI features into their massive existing ecosystems. Think CrowdStrike's Charlotte AI or Palo Alto's XCIM. They are incredibly powerful, especially if you're already locked into their specific ecosystems. But on the other side, we have the focus players. These are the AI-native startups building this stuff from the ground up. Companies like Exaforce, Profit Security, and DropZone AI. And sitting somewhere right in the middle in a super interesting spot are platforms like D3 Morpheus, which bring really unique features to the table, like self-healing integrations. It can automatically detect API drift across hundreds of third-party tools and just regenerate the code without any human intervention. It's a really fascinating race right now between massive incumbents adapting and agile startups innovating.
Which brings us to our final section, part 6. The future of cyber defense, AI versus AI.
Why is this shift absolutely mandatory and not just a nice to have? Because, frankly, the attackers aren't just standing still. The critical warning we're seeing across the board is that adversaries are heavily exploiting AI right now. They're using it for automation, for evasion, for rapid vulnerability discovery. They're out there generating zero-day exploits and polymorphic malware at machine speeds. So SOCs are officially becoming AI versus AI environments. A human speed defense simply cannot stop a machine speed attack anymore. If your organization is still relying purely on human analysts to manually click through and prioritize alerts, honestly, you've already lost the race.
Which leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question to end on today. Are you ready for an AI versus AI environment? It is definitely time to deeply consider your own organization's readiness for the future of cybersecurity. The technology to fight back is absolutely here, but that window to adapt, it's closing fast. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I highly encourage you to look deeper into how these autonomous systems can fortify your own digital borders. Stay curious,